You keep wondering why betrayal circles you, why sabotage strikes from shadows you didn't even know existed. You ask yourself how people you trusted could turn into enemies without warning. You want to believe it's misfortune, a string of bad luck, a misunderstanding. But the truth is simpler and sharper than you want to admit. Weakness is a signal, a flare on the battlefield, and predators see it long before you do. You've been taught that goodness protects you. That patience is a shield. That humility is noble and will earn loyalty. This is a dangerous illusion. In the arena of power, goodness without strength is not respected. Patience without boundaries is interpreted as passivity. Humility without force is seen as submission. These traits do not inspire loyalty. They invite exploitation. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He warned rulers that weakness never breeds love. At best, it breeds pity. At worst, it breeds betrayal. You think you can hide your weakness, but weakness leaks. It seeps out of your posture, your tone, your silence. It shows in how you hesitate when you should act, in how you forgive without requiring a price, in how you wait for others to change instead of enforcing your will. Every delay, every excuse, every retreat you allow yourself is reconnaissance handed to your enemies. They mark your soft spots. They take note of where you hesitate, and they prepare. Understand the battlefield you are on. Every human interaction is war in miniature, a negotiation, a test of strength, an exchange of control. Those who seem friendly may still measure you. Those who smile may still probe for fractures. You tell yourself they mean well. That suspicion is paranoia. But Machiavelli would call you blind. He would remind you that men act out of fear and ambition, not loyalty to your ideals. If you cannot inspire fear or respect, you are already at risk. Look closely at your past. Who has undermined you? Who has drained you? Who has mocked you quietly, behind your back, while keeping you close in public? These were not random accidents. They were maneuvers. People saw in you something exploitable. They saw a soldier without armor. They saw a commander without discipline. They saw a weak flank in the line. And they attacked, not openly, but in secret, because the battlefield of human relations punishes overt enemies and rewards covert ones. The most dangerous blade is not the one pointed at your chest. It is the one concealed until you're distracted. Why do secret enemies gather around you? Because weakness is silent permission. Your inability to enforce boundaries signals that betrayal is safe. Your reluctance to punish disloyalty signals that treachery is profitable. You become a safe harbor for parasites. They sense that you will not strike decisively. They sense you would rather suffer quietly than confront directly. And so they multiply. You want to believe your enemies will announce themselves. You want them to wear armor, carry banners, and march toward you clearly. But enemies in real life rarely do. They operate like spies. They spread whispers, distort perceptions, seed doubt. They sabotage morale in your camp, cut off your supply lines of trust, and leave you weakened without a visible battle. And the reason they succeed is because you gave them proximity without requiring loyalty. You confused access with allegiance. You mistook presence for support. Machiavelli warned that it is safer to be feared than loved. But you wanted love without discipline. You wanted harmony without cost. And harmony without the readiness for war is fragile theater. People sense it. They sense when you lack the capacity to enforce. They may smile. They may nod. They may call you friend. But in private, they know you are harmless. And a harmless leader is the most tempting target of all. Think about it. The weak man who asks for peace is not admired. He is tolerated until he is consumed. The weak ruler who spares his rivals is not loved. He is mocked and then removed. The weak negotiator who compromises early is not respected. He is taken advantage of again and again until he has nothing left to give. This is not tragedy. It is arithmetic. Power respects only what resists. Your blindness has been cultivated by culture. You were told that strength is cruelty. That suspicion is unhealthy. That confrontation is unnecessary. That forgiveness is infinite. This conditioning strips you of your weapons before the battle even begins. You step onto the field, unarmed, believing that intentions will save you. They will not. Enemies do not attack intentions. They attack weaknesses. You must see how you were shaped. Perhaps you were punished for speaking with force. Perhaps you were rewarded for staying quiet. Perhaps you feared abandonment, so you avoided conflict. Perhaps you feared rejection, so you gave more than was asked. These forces carved grooves in your behavior. They made you predictable. Predictability is death in war. A general whose moves can be anticipated will be outflanked, surrounded, and destroyed. You have been outflanked repeatedly, and you call it bad luck. It is not luck. It is your weakness broadcasting itself like an open signal. Niccolò Machiavelli once warned that men are more likely to betray those they do not fear. This is not cynicism, it is reconnaissance. He observed the battlefield of politics with the eye of a strategist. He understood that affection fades, gratitude dissolves, but fear and respect endure. And you have lived blind to this. You placed your faith in loyalty while neglecting the foundation of loyalty. Power. You must accept the brutal truth. Weakness is a provocation. It does not buy you safety. It does not buy you peace. It invites attack. It tempts rivals. It arouses envy. It assures parasites that they can feed without consequence. Your softness is not noble. It is fuel for betrayal. And until you face this, you will repeat the same cycle. More secret enemies will emerge. More silent betrayals will cut you. More disappointments will erode you, and you will keep asking why, when the answer has always been in front of you. If you continue as you are, the cost will escalate. Weakness compounds. The more you tolerate, the bolder your enemies become. The more you delay, the tighter their encirclement grows. Each time you forgive treachery without consequence, you encourage another ambush. Each time you compromise without leverage, you weaken your own supply lines. Each time you hesitate, you signal to every observer that you are not a commander, but a casualty waiting to happen. You need to understand that every battlefield has scavengers. Insects feed on the wounded. Wolves circle the limping. Hyenas laugh in the distance until the prey collapses. In human terms, these scavengers are the opportunists who smile while you suffer. They will not strike first. They will wait until you are exhausted, depleted, distracted. Then they will take what is left. The only way to prevent this is to make weakness unprofitable. This requires strategy, not emotional pleas, not self-pity. Cold, calculated restructuring of how you operate. You must begin to act as if every interaction is reconnaissance. Because it is. People are always testing you, always watching, always probing for cracks. Every smile may hide a ledger. Every kindness may hide a calculation. You cannot afford to keep assuming benevolence. You must assume ambition. And you must position yourself accordingly. Start with discipline. Machiavellian strategy dictates that a leader who cannot command himself cannot command others. Your first battlefield is your own hesitation, your own excuses, your own soft habits. Cut them. Eliminate the patterns that make you predictable. Train yourself to act decisively, to punish disloyalty instantly, to reward strength, not weakness, to speak in terms that leave no ambiguity. Discipline is not cosmetic. It is armor. Then comes control of information. Weakness leaks through words. Stop explaining. Stop justifying. Stop narrating your every intention. Information is currency. The less others know about your vulnerabilities, the less they can exploit. Speak less. Move more. Create uncertainty. When enemies cannot predict you, they fear you. When they cannot read you, they hesitate. And hesitation buys you leverage. Power is not about cruelty. It is about clarity. The clarity to cut off what sabotages you. The clarity to identify who drains you. The clarity to know that forgiveness without consequence is permission. This clarity must become your new code. Because you are at war, whether you admit it or not. And the first rule of war is simple. Deny the enemy access. You have lived as if loyalty is a natural state. It is not. Loyalty must be engineered. It is bought with strength, fear, and calculated generosity. It is maintained by discipline and consequence. Without these, loyalty decays. The smiles around you mean nothing without the infrastructure of respect. And respect is built not on kindness, but on the demonstration that you will not hesitate to defend your command. Machiavelli would tell you, your enemies are already watching. They already know your soft spots. They already whisper in the shadows. The question is not whether you have enemies. The question is whether you will remain weak enough to let them multiply unchecked. You imagine enemies only exist in crises. You imagine betrayal is rare. You imagine loyalty is natural. These are fantasies. Every day, in silence, enemies are forming. Not with declarations, but with observations. They watch you hesitate. They watch you give without return. They watch you accept disrespect disguised as humor. They mark these moments like scouts mapping terrain. They whisper to themselves, "This one can be handled. This one can be bent. This one can be used until nothing is left." And you let them, because you still cling to illusions about the nature of people. Niccolò Machiavelli saw human nature with ruthless clarity. He did not dress it with sentiment. He did not hide from its brutality. He understood that men act for advantage, not for ideals. That self-preservation outweighs loyalty. That ambition outweighs gratitude. He knew that when people see weakness, they calculate. They do not ask how to protect you. They ask how to profit from you. And this is what you must accept if you want to stop being a perpetual victim of secret enemies. Your blind spot has always been trust. You hand it out without reconnaissance. You open your camp without inspection. You believe that smiles prove loyalty. You believe that shared history ensures safety. This is dangerous. Loyalty must be tested. Boundaries must be enforced. Access must be earned. Without these, you are not leading allies. You are harboring potential traitors. Weakness alters the geometry of every interaction. When you approach with softness, others calculate you as expendable. When you approach without leverage, others weigh your presence as optional. When you approach without the ability to retaliate, others mark you as exploitable. This is not cruelty. It is war logic. If two forces meet and one has no weapons, the stronger does not negotiate, they consume. Think of your life as a campaign map. Each relationship is a unit. Some are infantry useful, common, replaceable. Some are cavalry fast, ambitious, opportunistic. Some are artillery loud, powerful, destructive if uncontrolled. If you cannot command, the units do not fight for you. They fight for themselves. They shift allegiance when it serves them. They turn their weapons inward when they sense you lack discipline. This is why you are surrounded by betrayal. You have not established command. The illusion you carry is that enemies appear only when you harm others. But weakness itself is harm to yourself, and others read it as an invitation. By failing to protect your lines, you signal to opportunists that they can raid without risk. By failing to strike back, you train them to return. By failing to establish fear, you guarantee their disrespect. Machiavelli knew that mercy without strength is suicide. He saw rulers toppled not because they were hated, but because they were weak. Look at your hesitation. That pause before you confront someone who disrespected you. That silence when someone manipulates you. That retreat when someone crosses your boundary. Each hesitation is a lost battle. Each silence is a surrendered outpost. Each retreat is a weak flank. And when you give up enough flanks, the encirclement becomes inevitable. Enemies do not need to storm your camp. They will watch you surrender it piece by piece. You pretend that by avoiding conflict you maintain peace. But avoidance is not peace. It is slow defeat. It is attrition against your morale. It is your chain of command crumbling while you look away. Peace does not come from silence. Peace comes from deterrence. Peace comes from demonstrating that attack will be met with decisive retaliation. Until you grasp this, you will never know peace. You will only know manipulation disguised as harmony. Your unconscious forces are at fault. You learned early that to survive, you must submit. That to be accepted, you must bend. That to avoid abandonment, you must please. These lessons carve deep trenches in your psyche. Now, as an adult, you replay them without thinking. You tolerate insult because you fear rejection. You overgive because you fear scarcity. You stay silent because you fear isolation. And in doing so, you invite the very betrayals you fear. This is why Machiavelli's voice must pierce through your conditioning. He would remind you that survival requires strength, not compliance. He would remind you that power is the currency of loyalty. He would remind you that enemies multiply when rulers try to be loved more than feared. And you, whether you admit it or not, have lived as a ruler who wanted love without command. Now, face the cost. Weakness is not free. Every concession bleeds you. Every delay drains you. Every betrayal scars you. And each scar reduces your ability to trust wisely. The cost is not only external, it is internal. You become your own saboteur. You convince yourself that you cannot change. That power is foreign to you. That strategy is cruelty. These lies lock you in submission, while others maneuver freely around you. If you continue down this path, understand the consequences. You will not simply lose opportunities. You will lose your sovereignty. Your reputation will decay. People will speak of you as easy to use, safe to betray, harmless to ignore. And once that reputation spreads, it is nearly impossible to reverse. Armies do not follow a general they know will hesitate. Allies do not stand behind a commander they know will retreat. You will find yourself isolated, disrespected, quietly despised, and you will have built that fate with your own weakness. The transformation you need is not emotional. It is tactical. Do not beg to be stronger. Do not wish for allies to be kinder. That is still weakness disguised as hope. Strategy is your only cure. You must restructure how you move, how you speak, how you decide. You must shift from passivity to command, from softness to steel, from excuses to enforcement. Begin by enforcing consequence. Every act of disrespect must be answered, not with rage, but with precision. Cut off those who drain. Distance yourself from those who mock. Punish betrayal by removing access permanently. When people see that treachery carries cost, they calculate differently. Suddenly, betrayal is not profitable. It is dangerous. Then, discipline your speech. Weakness spills through words. Stop over-explaining. Stop apologizing when you have nothing to apologize for. Stop asking permission for actions that require none. Speak with brevity. Délivrer décision, not requests. Every word should signal clarity. Every phrase should remind others that you are not seeking approval, you are enforcing command. Control your presence. Weakness shows in posture, in tone, in eyes that dart away. Train your body like a soldier. Stand firm. Hold silence longer than others can. Do not rush to fill gaps with nervous chatter. Silence is a weapon. It unsettles. It creates pressure. Let others feel that pressure. Command is not loud. It is composed. It radiates inevitability. Then master your alliances. Do not confuse familiarity with loyalty. Test those around you. Observe who steps forward when risk rises. Observe who retreats when cost appears. Observe who whispers when they think you cannot hear. These tests reveal your real army. Reward loyalty with access. Cut off disloyalty without hesitation. This is not cruelty, it is war discipline. Without it, your camp will rot from within. Finally, internalize this principle. Stop assuming peace is the natural state. It is not. Peace is the product of constant deterrence. Peace is maintained only when your enemies calculate that attack is suicide. Peace is earned only when your presence demands respect. You do not drift into peace. You enforce it. And you enforce it by making weakness invisible. Machiavelli's warning echoes across centuries for a reason. Weakness does not protect. Weakness attracts. It attracts betrayal, envy, exploitation. It multiplies secret enemies in the shadows. And until you become ruthless in discipline, clarity, and enforcement, you will keep wondering why you suffer. There is no mystery. The battlefield has already given you the answer. Weakness is the signal, and predators never miss a signal. So ask yourself now, will you keep playing the victim of invisible wars, or will you become the commander of your own terrain? The choice is brutal, but it is yours. You cannot be both harmless and safe. You cannot be both passive and respected. You must choose. You keep imagining that enemies strike only in moments of chaos, that they emerge only when resources are scarce or when tempers explode. But Machiavelli knew better. Enemies are born in silence, in envy, in opportunity. They emerge not because conflict erupts, but because weakness reveals itself. The enemy does not wait for war. The enemy waits for your hesitation. You must face that hesitation as your most dangerous liability. On a battlefield, hesitation is the death of momentum. It stalls your troops. It confuses your allies. It emboldens your opponents. One pause is all it takes for a flanking maneuver to succeed, for supply lines to be severed, for morale to collapse. In life, hesitation serves the same role. You hesitate to confront. You hesitate to cut ties. You hesitate to enforce consequence. Each pause gives your enemies time to reorganize. Each silence gives them room to plot. Each retreat gives them confidence to strike harder next time. Weakness is not only a trait, it is a reputation. Once others perceive you as weak, your battlefield changes shape. You are no longer treated as a threat, but as terrain to be controlled. Opportunists maneuver around you. Parasites drain you. Rivals test you. The image of weakness spreads faster than any rumor. Once established, it clings to you like a stench. And until you tear it apart with decisive acts of strength, it defines how every player interacts with you. Do not underestimate the speed of this transformation. One mistake, one act of softness at the wrong time, can stain your reputation for years. You may think people forget. They do not. Soldiers remember which commander froze under fire. Citizens remember which ruler bent to pressure. Allies remember which partner caved in negotiations. Weakness leaves marks that no amount of apologies can erase. The only antidote is forceful demonstration of strength. You wonder why people laugh at your generosity. why they whisper when you are absent, why they exploit your silence. It is because generosity without strength looks like desperation. It is because silence without power looks like surrender. It is because forgiveness without consequence looks like permission. These are the calculations your so-called allies make. They see in you not a leader, not a commander, but a shield they can use until it breaks. And once it breaks, they discard it. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this dynamic with perfect clarity. He knew that appearances are weapons. He warned that power is sustained not by inner virtue, but by outer perception. What people see in you defines what they allow themselves to do around you. If they see steel, they hesitate. If they see softness, they advance. If they see unpredictability, they respect distance. But if they see predictable weakness, they sharpen their knives. This is why your illusions must be shattered. You have believed that love sustains loyalty. It does not. You have believed that understanding disarms enemies. It does not. You have believed that patience builds bridges. It does not. In war, none of these matter without strength. Love without fear dissolves. Understanding without leverage is ignored. Patience without enforcement is laughed at. You must wake from this dream. Otherwise, the battlefield will wake you in ways you cannot endure. You must also stop misjudging envy. Envy is not passive. It is not silent. It is active sabotage waiting for the right moment. Your successes do not only bring admiration, they bring calculation. Each gain you make inspires someone else's resentment. If you are strong, envy becomes silent. If you are weak, envy becomes a plan. That plan becomes whispers. Those whispers become sabotage. And sabotage destroys more kingdoms than open rebellion. Examine the costs you have already paid. How many hours have been wasted repairing damage caused by those who smiled at you in public while cutting you in private? How many opportunities have been stolen because you trusted too quickly? How much energy have you lost managing fires set by people you should have expelled from your circle long ago? This is the tax of weakness. It is paid not in coins but in your time, your energy, your dignity, and every moment you refuse to enforce consequence. That tax compounds. Think strategically. A commander who allows spies into his camp does not only risk information leaks, he risks morale collapse. Soldiers who see traitors tolerated lose faith in the chain of command. They ask themselves why they should fight with discipline when betrayal goes unpunished. The same applies in your life. Every time you allow betrayal without consequence, you teach others that loyalty is optional. You teach your real allies that they fight for nothing. You hollow out your army until nothing remains but opportunists and scavengers. This is why secret enemies thrive around you. Not because they are clever, but because you are permissive. They thrive because you allowed your camp to become porous. You allowed spies to walk freely. You allowed deserters to return unpunished. You allowed betrayal to carry no cost. And when betrayal carries no cost, it multiplies like a plague. Understand this. Neutrality is a myth. You are either feared or forgotten, respected or ignored, followed or undermined. You cannot float between. The middle ground is where secret enemies grow. It is where opportunists maneuver. It is where the weak pretend they are safe. But in reality, the middle ground is the killing field. Those who linger there are picked apart by both sides. You must step into the brutal clarity of power. This is not about cruelty. It is about survival. You must train yourself to think like a strategist, not a victim. Every person around you must be classified: ally, rival, parasite, or enemy. Allies are tested and rewarded. Rivals are respected and monitored. Parasites are expelled. Enemies are punished decisively. This clarity is your map. Without it, You wander blindly. And blind wanderers do not survive on battlefields. Machiavelli would tell you that discipline is the true currency of command. A ruler who cannot punish disloyalty loses his throne. A commander who cannot enforce discipline loses his army. A man who cannot cut off parasites loses his dignity. You must learn to cut sharply, without apology. Delay is weakness. Hesitation is permission. Mercy without enforcement is suicide. If you enforce this clarity, your enemies will still exist, but they will stay hidden and afraid. They will whisper but never strike. They will envy but never sabotage. They will calculate but never move. Because the cost of moving against you will be too high. That is the essence of power. Not the absence of enemies, but the control of enemies through deterrence. This is the transformation you must undergo. Stop craving harmony. Stop seeking approval. Stop expecting fairness. Begin building deterrence. Begin rewarding strength. Begin cutting weakness. Until you do, you will keep wondering why secret enemies thrive in your shadows. They thrive because you have not yet made the shadows dangerous to enter. Remember this: the battlefield is already real. You are already at war. The only question is whether you will command or collapse. Machiavelli's warning is not a philosophy lesson. It is a survival map. Ignore it, and you will bleed quietly while your enemies smile. Obey it, and you will reclaim command over your terrain. You must now see the truth without distortion. Weakness is not an accident. It is a weapon placed in your own hand against yourself, and every day you refuse to let go of it. You stab yourself with it. The world does not feel pity for that wound. The world sees only an opening. You want to believe there is still safety in being misunderstood, that people will eventually see your intentions, that the good inside you will shield you from attack. That is a child's fantasy. The battlefield does not care about your heart. The battlefield respects only your command. If you are not a commander, you are terrain. And terrain does not negotiate. It is trampled. Niccolò Machiavelli dissected this centuries ago. He saw rulers destroyed not by great armies, but by their own softness. He saw leaders fall not from open rebellion, but from silent betrayal. He saw men who wanted to be loved, only to be devoured by those they trusted. His warning was cold, but it was survival. If you cannot project power, you cannot keep loyalty. And if you cannot keep loyalty, you will drown in enemies who call themselves friends. You have waited too long, tolerated too much, excused too many. Each act of passivity was a stone removed from your fortress walls. Each concession was a supply line cut. Each delay was a bridge burned behind you. And now you stand surrounded, wondering why the enemy seems endless. They are endless because you never stopped them. You never punished one, so 10 more grew. You never closed the gate, so the camp filled with spies. You never drew a line, so the map erased you. Do not pretend you can rebuild while staying the same. Transformation requires rupture. You must destroy your old self. The weak self, the hesitant self, the apologetic self. That self has been compromised. That self has already been scouted by your enemies. They know its moves, its habits, its blind spots. If you cling to it, you remain predictable. And predictability is death in war. Instead, build the new commander. Cold clarity, sharp enforcement, discipline as armor, deterrence as weapon. Speak less. Move decisively. Strike when tested. Remove when betrayed. Never explain to those who mock you. Never beg those who drain you. Never justify to those who doubt you. Your silence must weigh heavier than their words. Your actions must strike harder than their whispers. Do not confuse this with cruelty. Cruelty is random. Command is calculated. A true strategist does not lash out in emotion. He punishes in precision. He does not waste resources on petty conflicts. He cuts where it preserves discipline. He does not flaunt power with noise. He radiates power with inevitability. You must adopt this posture. You must become the commander whose very presence changes the calculations of those around you. Remember this principle. When betrayal carries cost, betrayal becomes rare. When weakness disappears, parasites scatter. When discipline tightens, loyalty strengthens. This is how you reshape your terrain. Not by asking for better people, but by becoming the kind of force that allows only the loyal to remain. Do not wait for permission to change. No one will grant it. The world benefits from your weakness. Your enemies enjoy their advantage. Your so-called allies enjoy your tolerance. If you wait for approval, you wait forever. You must move without permission. You must restructure without consensus. You must declare war on the habits that have kept you enslaved. Ask yourself now, how many years have you lost to hesitation? How many opportunities have rotted while you waited? How many betrayals have you endured because you were afraid to enforce? How many times have you whispered to yourself that things will improve if you stay patient, if you stay kind, if you stay soft? And how many times has that whisper been proven wrong? This is your final warning. The battlefield is not waiting for you to wake up. Enemies are already moving. Rivals are already calculating. Parasites are already feeding. Every day you delay, your position weakens. Every moment you hesitate, their courage grows. And soon the cost of recovery will be greater than the cost of transformation. You must choose. Continue as you are, and accept the life of a harmless pawn, surrounded by hidden enemies, betrayed again and again until nothing is left. Or shift, break, awaken, become the commander who enforces, who punishes, who demands respect. Machiavelli would not plead with you. He would tell you coldly, survival belongs to those who abandon weakness. So abandon it. Right now, stop carrying the fantasy that people will reward your softness. Stop telling yourself that patience alone will secure loyalty. Stop living as if life is anything other than a battlefield. Accept the war you are already in. Step into command. Strike when tested. Cut when betrayed. And radiate the kind of power that makes enemies hesitate in silence. Weakness attracts secret enemies. Strength disperses them. The choice is yours. Choose now, or be chosen for. Command your battlefield, or be trampled under it.